Very warm welcome back. We're in Sandton and we're busy discussing the small matter of small businesses, medium enterprises. I say small matter because it's huge actually, and it's probably the most important conversation that we're going to have, because this is where all the jobs are going to come from, and this is where the backbone of the economy, if it's to grow, needs to come from this area. So we've got a panel here and also delegates that are sitting in just in front of us here who've been posing questions to our panel, but we'd like you to be involved as well. At Peter Ndoro, hashtag TNA BizBrief is also where you can send some of your questions via Twitter. But let's go to Victor Msomi, who's on table number 8 at the moment, and find out what's on his mind. Victor?
Hi, good morning. I'm a vice president under the under the hairdressing, beauty and cosmetology. The industry that the government has totally forgotten, and they are very shy to talk about, and surprising everybody has heard. My question here, my question is one, with Dr. Mazwai, are there any project or programs that have been designed for hairdressers out there that the industry, and more especially the organization, can actually be fully participating on that? And we would love to, if at all they are. Two, to GEP, do you have grants that maybe can be given to these small businesses of the hairdressers that can actually even train the youth of South Africa that are just lying around the townships, not having anything to do, and most of them are depending on grants? We want to take all those people from the grant and bring them into self-reliance. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Victor. So, Dr. Mazwai?
Okay, no thanks. There is currently an initiative. All right, let me first say that the SABC SETA is busy with hairdressers in the rural, in the districts where they've got projects on. And they are saying that what industries are in these communities where we can make a difference, so that there is an upskilling of workers and there's an upskilling of the owners of those entities. So, and then the SABC SETA has already started with that, and also with other industries in the townships that the SABC SETA deals with, like the funerals and the cleaning services and so on. I think that if one goes to the website of the SABC SETA, you will get an idea of the interventions that they are doing in rural areas and so on. But now there is a project that is going to be launched by a partnership between the Ekurhuleni West FET and the SABC SETA and the Wits Business School to train hairdressers in the townships, whether it's Alexander, Diepsloot, and so on. And the GEP is going to be providing mentoring services to those. So now it's a partnership between these 4 institutions, Wits Business School, the services SETA, Ekurhuleni West, FET, and the GEP. And this, I believe that these partnerships are basically the way to go, because then there is going to be a much more effective returns on the investment that you are going to make. It's not everybody having this small show there, another small show there, and so on.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Mazwai has covered part of it. And just to say that part of the challenge, though, with them registering these hairdressers and the stomatology industry in general, which is what we found with our conversations with the SETA, is that they don't want to register as formal businesses, because then they think there's tax and all the other stuff that goes with it. So, you know, it's a balancing act. As I said, and I agree with you, in newspapers and ads would be intimidating. So it's much better to have the one-on-one interaction or face-to-face interaction with people to get them to understand things better. But just to say to Victor that we are not in the business of grants at GEP. The only time that you would feel that you are closest to a grant would be if you are part of an incubation program, as Dr. Mazwai has indicated. So if we incubate you, then as the word indicates, only when you get out do we begin to then give you a loan or some such. But I think Nazin captured that very well, to say you have to be resilient as an entrepreneur. If you're going to go out there and think you're going to be a business person and expect grants, you're not going to make it in the industry. It's that simple. There are standards, there are norms, there are certain prescripts that you have to abide by. And if you get into that space of grants, then you are running into serious trouble. And I think our mentorship and networking program really gets that and articulates it to people so that they understand what they are in for. You should also, Victor, take into consideration the fact that because of our unemployment situation, you find a lot of people who come up and say they want to start a business. And they don't have the resilience of being an entrepreneur. They basically are looking for something that would put bread on the plate. So how do you then balance the skills development to create a pool that will be there for those entrepreneurs to employ a highly skilled and appropriately skilled people? And that's the program that we are embarking on now.
Okay, Sipho, you had a thought?
Yes, just to add, I think there are two programs within the DTI where the young people who are interested in hairdressing could access. First, we have the co-ops incentive scheme. You know, I think there is strength in numbers. If the young people can come together, you know, more than 5 people, and then form a cooperative in hairdressing, they can access the incentive scheme, which is a grant of about 350,000. And I think that would be enough to cover for that kind of business. They could also apply for the so-called the Black Business Supply Development Program, whereby they could also access funding for things like the capital that they require to start the hairdressing and all those things.
Okay.
But okay, I wanted to add a point that part of the promotion of our programs, Peter. The Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Ms. Elizabeth Tabete, from time to time she will do what we call taking DTI to the people, where she will take officials from all the institutions and visit the rural areas and call the imbizos, whereby all the programs of DTI are being promoted, explained to the people there.
All right, okay, let's go to Fusi Makasane. And this is a question I think probably comes up more than half the times because this is a big issue. So, Fusi, let's hear from you.
Good morning. My name is Fusi Florence Makasane. I'm from SENWIT, South African Networking for Women in Transport. There are projects and processes that we are getting from different stakeholders. Our biggest challenge is when we go to DTI, apply for funding, the biggest challenge is security. As startups, companies that are wishing to go into the mainstream of transport economy, we are unable to come up with those high amounts of security. Thank you.
All right, so how do you navigate? You've got nothing, but you want to create. You've got no security. How do we help these people, Nazim?
It's a challenge. I hope the thing's working.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. I think, what does security mean in the life of a financier? I think if one is able to offer a financier security, you reduce the financial risk to the financier. You reduce the expectations of the return expectations of the financier, and therefore you also, in the process, reduce the cost of capital to you. So it's a tricky situation. If you don't have security, then the cost of finance will usually be higher. The cost of finance could be so high that it undermines the very viability of your business. So I think that is the challenge. What can be done? We've learned a little bit from our foray internationally. We run a fund for SMEs in Madagascar, one in Kenya and one in Rwanda. We're about to set up also as business partners in Namibia, Malawi, and Zambia. And from our international experience, we have learned that and certainly through our years of practicing in South Africa, that if all you do is give people money, then you're going to have a problem. You got to do more than just money. So you do technical assistance, mentorship, consulting services, for two reasons as a financier. One, to protect yourself, and secondly, because you're a nice person and you want to grow the business. So you got to do it for both reasons. But one of the key challenges, or there are two challenges. The one is collateral still, and the other one is owner's equity. And I've been grappling quite a bit as to how one can overcome that. Because no collateral means high cost of funding. High cost of funding means your business can't afford it. It's going to die in any event. And similarly, owner's equity, which is the other problem. Very seldom do people have the owner's equity which traditional finances are looking for. For example, if you go to your normal lender, a bank, and you have a wonderful idea, they would usually expect you to have somewhere between 40 and 60% of the money, and they lend you somewhere between 40 and 60, and not many people have that. So what one almost needs, and I think I've seen it, the European Union recently gave money to the IDC, SIPO, and ISET on this board, which can be used as equity. So there's money available, soft money used as equity. It's matched by loans from financiers, whether it be the IDC or business partners or anyone for that matter. That helps someone. The issue of collateral is still a problem. So one thing we can solve is we can get softer money, maybe government funds or enterprise development funds, with the view to reducing the owner's equity requirements which traditional financiers will have, therefore unlocking funding for entrepreneurs. On the issue of collateral, I think it's a bigger challenge because I don't think if you don't have collateral, the risk will be high and therefore the cost of funding will be high.
Yeah.
I think perhaps for us that's where we come in as GEP, because we have, that's what we grapple with a lot, and we don't insist on collateral, because we then either have a joint account with yourself as the entrepreneur. So if you're in transport, for example, I will continuously say it's just coincidence that this is funded by, this breakfast is funded by Transnet. But honestly speaking, we have a very good relationship with Transnet, where we use money where we are able to lend to people, and Transnet from their supply and empowerment fund are able to assist us in getting this right. And because you're in transport as the lady on table 9 indicated earlier, we would then either have a joint account or sign a session. So if she had a contract, for example, with Transnet, we would sign a session with Transnet, and Transnet would pay us before they pay her. And we would also pay directly to her suppliers, so that she doesn't find, we are not at the risk of not getting our money. And that's basically how we protect our money and protect our business. And it also gives you that particular opportunity for you to start. Even the owner's equity, we spread it. We don't ask for it up front, but we spread it throughout the term of the loan. So that becomes useful.
I'm gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I mean, one of the things that are coming through on Twitter here is that we're using big words here. We're using session, owner's equity, and so on. And I think this is part of the problem, isn't it? I mean, this really speaks to the guy who's been a mechanic for someone for years and years and years. He wants to start his own shop. He doesn't know the beginning of the word, corporate veil, this, that, and the other. Maybe this is another conversation we need to have, but we'll have that straight after this break.
Tuesday on 2.
Help het sweet blue al met liefde te doen. Jy wil 'n silly little game teen Herman speel. Stop Herman voor hy jou stop.
Dis 'n skaak. Jy moet die regte skuif op die regte tyd maak. En kom. Nie raai.
Jy was ewig hier nie besigheid nie. Jy weet niks. Dis dat jy opgaan.
Ek weet wat soek jy. Mens kan niemand op hierdie aarde of enige plek vertrou nie.
Codex, Tuesday, 7:30, SABC 2.
Hi, Kona, Mam Gobozi. Still waiting for your news to come to you? Don't wait. Tobeta! 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 Tobeta!
With just the Tobeta. Access all your SABC2 news, pics, gossip, and more. Tobeta SABC2.co.za or follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and check out SABC2's YouTube channel because waiting for your news.
Hi! Tobeta!
Right, okay, welcome back. We're inside the last half an hour of our conversation, so let's try and race through some of the questions that are being raised and get some answers from our expert panel here talking about small to medium-sized enterprises, how we can enable them and create an environment for them. Belisiwe, let me just come back to you very quickly. I've got a tweet here from Tulani Ngwenya who says that we were robbed by GEP, GPEDD through YH who promised us funding and training. What's your response to that? Because a number of people are quite disappointed with this whole YH thing.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Just to say that YH was not a government program. It was not a GEP program. However, as a starting point, it was a good catalyst to get the conversations with young people and to get a sense of what young people out there are capable of in terms of having their own businesses and starting that. And through our own internal programs within GEP, we continue to utilize the database that we got from the YH team because that was the start and the catalyst of that program. So we got a database of they had about 13,000 young people on the database. 1,100 of those young people qualified through the commitment fee that they were supposed to have paid for them to go into the training and development. And I'm happy to say that out of those 1,100 that qualified, we've been able to utilize that database for placement of those young people or offering them some kind of incubation program. Some of them have declined it because they were never designed to be entrepreneurs in the first place, as I said initially. So the programs range from placement to job readiness, training, to actually retail and incubation. So we are comfortable to say right now we have about, in fact, 2,000 young people. So it's the 1,100 who paid their commitment fee, but there are others who are getting into other programs that we're dealing with our partners, like I said, Transnet, the city of Joburg, the city of Ekurhuleni, and we have a program with the United Nations Development Program that is a joint program with BUSA. So we know that those entrepreneurs would get into that. We also have a program where we have signed a contract with Macro on the small retailers like your Spaza Shops Association of South Africa with Mama Rose for syndication, because more often than not you find those small businesses, particularly the young ones, are not able to go out there and buy in bulk, and that partnership has helped. So we have worked very closely with that database. It doesn't mean to say those 13,000 who didn't qualify have been thrown out. We're looking at avenues of how to place them with our shareholder, the Department of Economic Development.
So we're not going to have another YH saga.
Yes, I'm just saying that it's a program that's ongoing but in-house.
Okay, all right. Lisiba, table number 11. Lisiba, table number 11.
Yeah, I'm from All Mutual, and All Mutual is passionate about SMME development because we have the money. So my question is, how do we attract and retain credible SMMEs? Thank you.
Okay. I don't know who can answer that question, actually.
I think you got, if he says that they've got the money, and they want to place it with SMEs, I think you've got to delight them with service, give them quick turnaround times, manage and nurture them. They will remain with you and you'll have a business forever, I guess. So that's the best way I could answer.
Siva?
Yeah, I think they need to form partnerships with organizations like CEDA and other provincial organizations, the organizations that provide business development support to SMMEs, because then those will be the SMMEs that maybe they can look at funding, because they've been through a process, they've been trained, they've been coached, then there's a high possibility of them succeeding.
All right, but Tebo Sem sends a tweet and it says, delivery mechanism for FS CEDA incentives are not working. Our co-op lost a farm trying to buy because CEDA rep disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, maybe those will be the isolated incidents, but I think the co-op's incentives is working very well. You see, the problem is, the colleagues they've alluded to this problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is, people they get to know about these incentives of government, and remember now the incentives of government, like the co-op's incentive scheme, is a free money to whoever is approved. Now, people, they form cooperatives. Some of them a family of 5, because they meet the requirement, they form a cooperative. But the business idea behind that is not that strong. Because the co-ops, it's a very easy scheme that we can access. We have reduced the requirements. And you find that people, they get the money. After getting the money, they're starting fighting amongst themselves. Because the clever one now is keeping all the money. Or he buys the equipment.
Yeah.
The tractor now belongs to him or to her for his or her own benefits, not of the co-op. Then the other members, they turn to government and say, well, this thing is not working. So to deal with those issues, you see, that's why we are amending the co-op's legislation to exactly deal with these issues. Because from the legislation will be providing for the establishment of a cooperative tribunal. The tribunal, the main purpose of a tribunal is to deal with the issues of conflict resolution within the co-ops, because it's still a major problem.
Okay. All right, table number 1, Swongile. You're on table number 1? Okay, yeah. You got a question? There we go. Can you stand up, Swongile, so we can see you? Thanks.
I was just wondering, this new policy of the 90-10 principle, how does it affect the SMMEs in the 90-10, where they measured 90% is price and 10% is BE level? Please correct me if I'm right. And also, I just wanted to say, please don't forget East London and Tanzania on all your programs.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Well, we have two principles. It's 90-10 and 80-20.
Right.
The 80-20 really is designed to give small enterprises more opportunities. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, contracts less than $1 million. I think it's $1 million. Yes. We apply 80-20 principles there. The 20% is for the preferential points. So in that way, you give more chances to the small enterprises that are black-owned, to win the tenders of government. And then, because of the big, the big contracts, there we have to look at the functionality and other things. On top of the BE preferential points, then there is 10 to 90 in terms of the points for you to access the contract.
All right. Dikeledi, is this Warilmont, or you're going to have to correct us? Table number 10.
Good morning, everybody. It shouldn't be Varlimont, it should be Milete, because the Varlimont caused the revolution in the First World War and the Second World War. Wow. I am Mrs. Varlimont, unfortunately. My husband will be honored on the 2nd. He was invited by Wits University to referee a paper on the number theory in mathematics. The question that I want to ask this morning, because I came back home and I've been trying very hard to develop entrepreneurs, because when I came to the Eastern Cape in Port Elizabeth, even though my ancestors come from the Northwest, the Ramotseri Muilwa, I'm a Motswana woman.
Dicolette, I'm going to ask you to speed up the story a little bit so that we can get to the question.
My question this morning is, what measures do you have in place to implement changes needed in policy framework and credit policies to support and encourage SMEs in South Africa? We've been busy since 1992, and right now we need solutions. We are very tired as women. We need the way forward. Thank you.
Okay, policy framework. And then I'm going to ask you guys to comment, because you're on the other side of this equation. The government will say one thing, and you dealing on the rock face. What can we do about policy framework?
Well, we have policies in place already. Like I've said, we have a fund dedicated to women-owned enterprises. It is called the Isivande Fund. Isivande Fund. Yes, we know in the beginning the fund didn't work properly because of the internal problems within the fund manager. But this is the money the DTI gave to the IDC to support women enterprises, more especially women enterprises at the entry level. We are not talking about big companies owned by women, but those who are at the entry level, SMMEs in the rural areas, peri-urban areas. This is the fund they're supposed to be supporting them. Like I've said, in the beginning of the fund, we had many challenges, because from the DTI we said, if women have just established a company and they give you even a handwritten business plan, as long as the business plan makes sense, then you have to give them the money. Okay. But then unfortunately, because it was managed by a fund manager, and the fund manager, they have their own rules, we found that the fund didn't work properly, but now we have dealt with that problem.
Okay, so government says the policies are there. Dr. Mazwai, are they enough, or does more need to be done?
I think that the South Africa has made a lot of progress in really streamlining the policies, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And I think that what still needs to be addressed is what is the relationship between those policies and the belief systems within communities. Because some of those policies would have been copied from the United States. Because, I mean, that's how society operates. You want a policy, then you are going to look at what so-and-so is doing. And then you bring it here and you try and craft it in yourself. But more often than not, we don't ask the question, the belief systems within the communities, do they link? And so on. And I think that's the work that we need to do, because an entrepreneur in Soweto will certainly not think like an entrepreneur in New York. Whatever you say, they are going to have different thought systems.
Sure. All right, okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue and try and race through some of these questions before we disappear. Stay with us.
Hey,